So this is a wonderful gospel and clearly quite important for us Catholics. It is the biblical authority that we point to that establishes the papacy and church authority. And I think we can all read from quite readily that if you believe in the Bible, if you think that St. Matthew's telling the truth, well then the church that Jesus establishes has some authority. It has some real authority. It can't just be a collection of people who believe the same thing. What you bound on earth will be bound in heaven. What you loose on earth will be loosed in heaven. Those words have a very clear meaning. The decisions that you make are authoritative. God will put His weight behind your decisions. That's really important for us. But why I love preaching on this gospel so much is because it's the gospel from my first Mass as a priest. Yesterday was my 6th anniversary of my ordination to the priesthood. And so today is the 6-year anniversary of my first Mass, when I preached on this gospel. We all hear this gospel the same way, I think. And I think it's pretty easy to fall into a simple trap that makes us miss this really important detail. So how does this passage start? Jesus is talking to his disciples, and what's he do? He asks them essentially the same question twice, but he's asking, who do they say that I am? Who do you say that I am? Making that us-them dichotomy. Peter correctly identifies Christ. He identifies Jesus as the Son of Man, the Christ, the Son of God. And then, because of that, Simon, son of Jonah, it's Peter's real name, is given a new identity. This is a normal biblical trope. It happens a bunch of times throughout the Old Testament. You are Petrus. In Greek, Petra. In English, rock. You are rock. And upon this rock I will build my church. It's a play on words in Greek. I don't read Greek, but my professor says it's if you read Greek. I trust my professors. They were good guys. But it's clear that Jesus is giving Peter a new identity. Then Jesus proclaims, because flesh and blood has not revealed this to you, but my heavenly Father. Upon this rock I will build my church, and the gates of the netherworld shall not prevail against it. What you bound on earth shall be bound in heaven, what you loose on earth. I shall give to you the keys to the kingdom of heaven. What you bound on earth shall be bound in heaven. What you loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven. Yet all of that is said takes on a new meaning when we understand that Jesus doesn't ask the same question twice. What's the first question? Who do people say the Son of Man is? Now you and I know that Jesus has been self-identifying as the Son of Man all throughout Matthew's Gospel. But if we pay attention to Matthew's narrative, the way Matthew writes his story, it's also very clear the disciples don't understand that. They don't get it. They're knuckleheads. They really are. Matthew, most of all, sets up the apostles as just, what do you mean? Like, what is all this for? They're constantly afraid. They constantly put their own messianic ideas onto Jesus. They project onto Jesus, and they constantly misinterpret what he says. The Son of Man, which they've heard him talk about a bunch, is a biblical image, most notably from the books of the prophets Ezekiel and Daniel, also I think Isaiah as well. It is a eschatological image, an image about the end of time. It is a messianic image, an image about this being that's coming to save God's chosen people. It is a divine image. It's clearly divinity is attributed to this being. And so the disciples are like, oh yeah, we talk to people all the time. They say it was Jeremiah. Some people say it was Elijah. Some people say one of the other prophets, or John the Baptist. They say all sorts of names. And then Jesus makes it clear to them what he's been talking about the whole time. Who do you say that I am? Now, it's very dangerous to sort of place ourselves, to interpret the Bible by means of placing ourselves in the biblical narrative. Because we just don't know the context, we don't know the culture, but we could try. Peter, for a year, 2 years, maybe almost 3 years at this point, finally gets it. And for just one moment during his time with Jesus, just one time, just once, he cuts through all of his biases, all of his prejudices, all of the things that he thought he knew, and he gets it and he makes a profession of faith. That profession of faith, that willingness, that ability, that will to point and say, you are the Son of God. That faith is enough to build an entire church upon. A church we are currently benefiting from because Peter got it right once when everyone around him got it wrong. Misunderstood, misinterpreted. What does that all mean for us? Yeah, the Pope is real and wonderful. I love Pope Leo, first American Pope. That's great. The Pope has authority. That's true. He can do things. But I want to focus on what Jesus says in response to Peter's admission of faith. He gives him a new name, new identity, but he does so because of what has been given to Peter from above. Jesus establishes the church through his own proclamation, his own works, his own teachings. But the means through which the church needs to be established also come from God. The faith that knucklehead Peter was able to issue forth from his mouth in that singular moment of clarity, it comes from God. Peter doesn't merit it. He didn't earn it. It's a grace. It's a virtue. It's a gift. Do we approach faith in the same way? Or do we rely on ourselves? Easy to know the answer. Is there a church teaching that is fundamental that I disagree with? Teaching about the sacraments. Teaching about moral law. Teaching about church structure. Because if I just sit there and rely on myself, what's the point of the rock? If I never seek the faith that is necessary to believe some difficult teachings, well, am I part of this thing at all? Do I even believe in the words? Because faith comes from above. It's not something I can just will myself to do. And if I am falling short, if I'm struggling, if I am in disagreement, am I doing anything to fix it? Or am I just wallowing in my own knowledge, my own mind, my own understanding, my own faith?